Hello everyone, welcome to Tech Sharmit. In this session, we are going to discuss about another very important function, or you can say the hook of Angular lifecycle component, that is ngOnChanges. Sequence wise, this function comes in the very beginning, but just to show you everything in a comparative manner, I covered all similar kind of functions first, and now we are talking about the ngOnChanges. But don't worry, this is one of the simplest function you will learn throughout the session. Okay, this is very straightforward. Like, you just need to keep one thing in mind, that this function is run or executed at the start and when the new component is created and its input properties are updated. Okay, and another thing, this ngOnChanges hook also get executed every time the input bound property of the component is changed. So these are some theoretical points which I just shared with you. So in this particular session, like, we are going to discuss what is ngOnChanges hook and why do we need it, how we can declare it, and what are the benefits of using it. Okay, but before we proceed further, I would like to recommend you to please go and check out the previously released sessions first, because they all are in proper sequence and sync. So if you follow them sequentially, then it would be much more easier for you to understand the ongoing topic, because for time being, we are just mainly focusing on how to use ngOnChanges hook. Okay, so let's get started. Here you can see we have I have already created one student component inside my app component. Now, if you don't know about how to create the component, let me tell you. So you just need to go to this terminal, click on new terminal. From here you can put the name of the terminal, whatever terminal you want. You can put the name of the component, whatever component you want to create. For example, I want to create the component with name student. So what I can do, I can simply write here ngGC and the component name would be student. So once you hit enter on it, it will create a component for you. Okay, so in my case, component is already created, so you can see 4 file has been added. Now what next we will do, we will connect this. So I'll explain you in a very simple terms. Okay, suppose this app component is a teacher component, because this is the example which we are taking from all the hooks, right? So app is a teacher component, and then we have student component. So what we will do, we will send some subject name from teacher component, means from app component, to student component. And when this subject name is changed, the input bound property is also changed. So at that time, for every change in the input bound properties, the function ngOnChanges will be invoked. Clear? Now to demonstrate this thing in a very simple way, what I'll do, I'll firstly show you the app.component.html part, and then I'll show you app.component.ts file, and then later on we will go through the student part. Okay, so first thing that you need to do is to register the student component, because we are going to use this component, right? So just copy this selector from here. Just forget about other thing. Just copy the selector from your student component. Go to app.component.th file, HTML file, and here you can declare it like this, not like this. You can simply put app student, similar to this. Okay, in my case I have already included it, that's why I'm removing it for now, but you can simply write it like this. Now to use it here, you just need to register this thing into app.component.ts. so just simply go to app.component.ts. here you can put the selector, you are supposed to register it. So to register this thing, you can write here student component. If forms module is not there, it's completely fine. This is for other purpose, but you need to put this student component there. Now after this, what we will do, we will provide one input field and one button to user, so that whenever user want to send some subject name, he can directly put the name into this input field, and once user click on the button send subject, it will call one function, that is send subject, and inside that send subject, it will assign the name of subject to this subject to send. Okay, so let's go one by one. Firstly, we are declaring the input field. So in input field, we have type as text. Here we are doing two-way data binding, that is ng model subject. there is one placeholder which will show enter subject. Then we have one button. Suppose user has provided something, for example English as a subject. So we have just inserted English inside this input box, but we have not clicked any button yet. So once user click on this button, so what this button will do, once user click on the send subject, it will call this function, that is send subject. Now in the send subject, what will happen? Let me show you. Just simply go to this app.component.ts. Here we have declared the required variables like subject and subject to send. In the send subject, we will assign the value like this dot subject to send equal this dot subject. Okay, so here we are just simply assigning the values to this dot subject to send, and then this dot subject to send means this subject to send value is passed to this app.component, this student component. Okay, so here we are bounding the subject. So you can see subject to send is passed to this subject, to this student component. Now it's time to receive this value. So simply go to this app.student.component.ts. Here we are simply using input property to receive the value. So you can just simply write here input subject is a string and blank. So here we will just receive the value. Once the value is received, we will print this, we will use this function to show the thing. Okay, so here I'm using ngOnChanges console.log subject change and the name of the subject. Now for sure, like you want to show this thing on a student HTML as well. So just go to this student.component.html file. Here we are just printing this thing. So subject received is subject. Okay, so let's see how it will work. So simply go to the terminal to run the application. Go to new terminal. And here we will run the application with ngserve ---- open. So just write ngserve ---- and enter. It will take few seconds and then it will open the application on the browser. So you can see browser is open and we have this value. So here when we click, when we do right click here on inspect, it will open this window. Here we have console. So firstly what it is doing, it is printing the subject changed, because for the very first time, as I mentioned, that ngOnChanges hook get executed at the start when the new component is created and its input bound properties are updated. So this is for that purpose only. So very first time it will call it. After that, the function ngOnChanges hook also get executed every time the input bound properties of the component changes. So let's change the value. So here what I'll do, I'll change the subject name to English. Although right now it is blank, you can also assign some default value if you want, but I kept it as blank. Now once I mention English here, click on the send button. So far I have not clicked on send button, that's why there is nothing on the console. But the moment when I click on send button, it will open this thing, send subject, subject changes English. Clear? So this is how it works. Now if you click again on this function, it will not print it again. Why? Because there is no change in the subject. So once the subject is changed, then only it will process it. For example, if I change it to science, click on button, so now you can see again it is called. Similarly, if I make it blank and click on subject, still it is called. Why? Because from science it is changed to blank. So it doesn't matter what value you are setting, it will be invoked every time when the changes is occurred. And that's why when we talk about the definition, we only mention two things. One is ngOnChanges hook get executed at the start when a new component is created and its input bound properties are updated. The second thing, ngOnChanges hook also get executes every time the input bound properties of the component changes. Okay. So these are the entire process through which we can find out how the ngOnChanges function or hook is working whenever we are making the changes into the input properties through any of the function or through input field, or maybe way could be anything. Okay. So yeah, that's all for ngOnChanges. And just remember one thing, this function comes earlier in the sequence. Okay. I'll tell you maybe like when we are done with all the functions, then I'll show you the sequence again so that there is no confusion, because this thing we kept pending initially, because I was explaining you other function. Now we are covering this ngOnChanges, so in the end I'll show you the sequence again. Okay, so yeah, that's all for today. In the next session we will discuss few more things. So thank you for watching Tech Sharmit.